Hello, my name is Jamie, and this is Supplier T News. Today is August 6th, 2021, and this is your small business news for the week. Today, we're going to be talking about, as you can see on the screen here, Atrium Health's new project and their projections that they're going to spend over 100 million with minority suppliers by 2026. We're also going to get into the infrastructure bill and what that means for both large and small businesses. The jobs report just came out today as well, so we're going to talk about that. And then lastly, we're going to talk about also with jobs, but more so looking at small businesses and seeing what are opportunities for small businesses to hire and kind of what's the well, positives and negatives of that as well. With that being said, as always, if you like the content that we provide here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Subscribes really help. Almost to 100, so really appreciate the subscribes thus far. Leave a comment, like the video so other people can find it for the YouTube algorithm. And then lastly, share with other people you think may be interested in this content. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. First up, Atrium Health projects, Atrium Health projects to spend 100 million annually with minority suppliers by 2026. So the big news here is that Atrium Health just connected with Magic Johnson's company Sodexo Magic, and thanks to a joint venture between Sodexo Magic, as you can see here, so Magic Food Provisions and Sodexo Inc. This is helping Atrium Health. You know, they have just recently contracted them for a couple of hospitals in the greater Charlotte and Winston-Salem areas, and that is going to obviously increase their spend with minority suppliers. However, this is just kind of the start. They do say that they want to increase spend in other areas as well. During the pandemic, as you can see here, they were able to leverage local suppliers and personal protective equipment, cleaning supplies, and other essentials. So basically, essentially what this is saying is that they're just going to continue to, or not just, but they will be continuing to support local and minority businesses. Between 2018 and 2020, Atrium Health more than tripled its spend with minority businesses, and it's looking again to hit the 9-figure mark over the next 5 years. So kudos to Atrium Health. There are a couple of other notes here talking about case studies around, the benefits of using minority businesses, the benefits of using local businesses. I would definitely recommend you take a look. The link will be left in the description if you want to see and learn more about Atrium Health's new push for minority suppliers. Next up, the July jobs report just hit. So the economy adds back 943,000, and then the unemployment rate falls to 5.4%. So pretty good news. I'm just kind of on the outset here. Just kind of talks about how this was a much larger than what people projected. So as you can see, it was 943,000 versus the 865,000 that was expected. As well as there's been revisions to prior months that have all been increases in what we thought in terms of people being hired. So, all in all, a pretty good, message being sent here. The majority of these jobs were in the hospitality sector, so leisure and hospitality. These employers during the pandemic shed a total of nearly 2 million jobs, but as you can see, they're starting to add them back. Now, again, if you want to check this article out, make sure to do so. But one of the things that I've continuously been saying over the past couple of months here is that the end of August is when we're really going to be able to see where we're at when it comes to our economy. And as you can see, there have been some bumps in the road in terms of jobs creation, not job creation, but jobs being hired back. But it seems as if we are continuing to increase when it comes to jobs. So I personally expect that to continue. There are some suggestions that we may be looking at the beginning of next year before we can really see what's going on. I still am going to stick with my, at the end of the summer, beginning of fall. That's kind of when we're going to start seeing normalcy kind of hit, and then we're just going to continue on that way. And based off of the numbers, it looks like I may be right here. So kudos to myself, I guess. Next up, the Biden infrastructure bill has big business backing, but how do small businesses feel about this? So what I'm going to do today is kind of show you two pieces, right? I want to show you the benefits of the infrastructure bill and all the things that it could do for small businesses, and I also want to talk about the negatives, right? Because when a bill like this comes to fruition, as we're learning more and more about how it's being passed, we do have to discuss, again, the benefits of it as well as, some of the negatives. It just makes sense to me. So as you can see, we're just going to note here, Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act can result in a boom for small businesses and help solve recruiting efforts in the country's tight labor market. And we're going to talk about the labor market in a second a little bit more. But as small businesses recover from labor constraints, the bipartisan bill was just passed, as you can see. The Infrastructure Investment Jobs outlining $550 billion in new spending for roads, bridges, public transportation, electric vehicle charging stations, and other physical infrastructure, creating jobs, as well as broadband. They kind of talk about that later. Their projections is that this will add roughly 2 million jobs per year for American workers, and projects will last over the course of a decade. So the 550 billion is going to be spent over the next, I believe, 5 years. It's going to get to about 1.2 trillion over the next 8 years, which we're going to talk about in another article as well. But again, the main piece here is that they are projecting that it's going to be great for jobs, and a lot of money is going to be invested into just building out the roads, bridges, again, transportation, broadband, things like that. So as it kind of breaks down, it just talks about kind of how the money is going to, or I should say where the money is going to be going to. As you can see here, 110 billion here, 73 billion there. Just basically kind of breaking it down in terms of how they're going to do this. So again, with 20% of the bill, or 110 billion dedicated for the construction of roads. It also breaks down a couple of other pieces as well. I apologize, I was reading through this a little bit earlier. Let's see where it says it. Here we go. The bill allocates 39 billion for public transit and another 60 billion to modernize and expand passenger and freight rail. We also have a couple other pieces for broadband too. There's also, as you can see here, a really big push for union jobs that will be created because of this bill. While it's not explicitly stated, this was a commitment that Biden did make, and they pretty much say that because this is going to happen, government's going to be giving a lot of money here. It's most likely, or not most likely, it will help to create more union jobs. And then lastly, infrastructure bill provides an additional 65 billion for broadband, 73 billion for power infrastructure, and 21 billion for environmental cleanup, which presents revitalization projects for small businesses and local communities. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity here. In reading this, they're saying that essentially how the process is going to work is, as they pass the bill, you may not see the construction actually happen right away. It may take a couple of years for it to happen, as they're kind of planning out how they're going to do the construction, how they're going to do, where they're going to do the bridges, how they're going to fix it, etc. That's going to take a year or two. But the benefit is that if you're a construction company, for example, you'll be able to know that these plans are coming, so that way you can plan out accordingly based off of the pipeline. So again, it's not going to happen day one, but it's going to take a year or two. But we should see these jobs being created over the next couple of years, which should be a benefit. So we're talking about giving opportunities to small businesses because, as you know, government does mandate that a certain percentage goes to small businesses. We're going to be seeing a lot of money, potentially probably upwards of about 100 billion. That may be opportunities for small businesses over the next 5 to 8 years. So that's obviously a benefit, especially if you qualify and you have the right connections. Now, let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of the, a big negative that could happen out of this, right? And to fund its infrastructure deal, Congress is stealing is such a strong word, stealing 38 billion in small business relief funds. I don't know if I would say stealing. Obviously, stealing is a lot more powerful word, so you're going to read it, which caught my eye. But basically, what this article is saying is that you have relief funds that are going out right now. So as you can see, the big pieces here. Under the current bill, 38 billion would be diverted directly from existing small business relief funds. So that includes 17 billion from SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan, 13 billion from targeted EIDL advance, 4.7 billion from PPP, and 1.4 billion from the Economic Stabilization Program. And then, another 990 million from SBA's loan program. So basically, this is essentially what's going on. A lot of these programs actually do have an end date, right? So let me see if I can find one real quick. Here it is. The debt relief program expires on September 30th, 2021. So basically what's going on here is that you have a lot of these loans that are available to small businesses that are struggling now. And if the infrastructure bill, keyword is if, the infrastructure bill passes, over the next couple of months, then in theory, the politicians could use the money that's left within these loans to fund the infrastructure bill, right? So because of this, we're seeing a lot of businesses, basically they're trying to expedite these loan applications for those who qualify to give these loans as quickly as possible, because they don't know when this bill will pass and when Biden will sign it, and when they may potentially take the money from these loan opportunities and then divert them into the infrastructure bill. So that is the big negative that we're seeing, right? It's always, whenever you see something like this, the question is always going to be, all right, sounds great. How are you going to fund it? And it appears as if they are now allowing the money that's left over from the loans to fund the infrastructure bill. So we don't know, exactly if that's going to happen, but this is a possibility, and they are leaving the door open to do so. So again, always want to talk about the positive of a bill like this as well as some of the negatives, and make sure that you're aware. So if you do need loans, make sure you apply as soon as possible, when you can. All right. Next up, job openings at small businesses in the U.S. climb to a fresh record. I feel like I've been saying this for a couple of months now. So once again, small businesses are looking for people to hire. And we're going to get into in a second something interesting here. But as you can see, a record 27% of small business owners said they plan to raise compensation in the next 3 months in order to get more people to hire. So it's always, just historically, it's always been difficult for small businesses to hire qualified people. I mean, I've been doing this for almost a decade now. This is always a common complaint that increased, over the past couple of months as we're coming back and as people are looking to hire, people to continue the business as now that they're back. So this isn't a new issue. However, again, the small businesses saying that they can't find anything has been increased. Now, the interesting thing about this, and I kind of want to hit here, is small businesses aren't happy who's applying to the job. So we kind of talked about that, but the labor quality, while it has increased, the labor cost has not increased. So that's very important, right? Because essentially what that means is that we have companies that, while they want qualified applicants, they may not be willing to increase the pay for those applicants. And the really big piece here that they say here is, where is it? ADP chief economist Neela Richardson recently explained to Axios, raising pay for new applicants often means having to raise pay for existing employees, which is costly. So basically, it's not there here. If you want to get better quality employees, you're going to have to raise your pay for everyone, and businesses, for obvious reasons, especially coming out of the pandemic, don't have the funds to do that. So basically what we have is a labor market where there are qualified people, but because these pays aren't kind of matching what people believe they should be getting, we kind of have a gap here. Now, how do we solve this gap? I have absolutely no clue at this point in time, but this is new information that I honestly just found out, today, in terms of why this may be. So I want to do more research before I kind of comment on this, but it is an interesting thing that we need to talk about. There is a record high net 39% said that they have increased pay, but that may not be enough to get a qualified applicant at this time. So we'll see how this goes over the next month or so. I'll keep you informed as best as I can on this, but very interesting. So, all right. With that being said, as always, if you like the content we provide, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, like the video, and share with other people you think may be interested in this content. All right. As always, thank you so much for your time, and have a great day.